The cast reveal for Drag Race Season 14 just came out last weekend, and I am thoroughly impressed. Now, I would say for the last... Honestly, even Season 11 had a good one. Season 10 had a good one. Season 9. Since Season 9, when the franchise switched over to VH1, the budgets for these promos and the reveals have been there. Like, they have them. The reveals are iconic, but this one felt even bigger than like season 12 and season 13's. I think the whole Candyland theme, how much like work was put into these looks, even the looks that I wasn't thrilled with, I still think the Queen put a lot of effort into, and you can tell it's not just something that they bought from the mall, which some promo looks of the past have felt that way. So honestly, I'm very pumped for season 14 of RuPaul's Drag Race. But I would be lying if there wasn't some nervousness with how I'm thinking it's going to turn out. I mean, 2021 has been a mixed bag for Drag Race seasons. We've had some high highs with UK 2 and All Star 6. We've had some low lows with UK 3 and Drag Race Down Under. And I would say season 13, for me, fell somewhere in the middle. I think I enjoyed season 13 a lot more than a lot of other people do. But I'm also that person who doesn't watch TV wanting to hate it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always trying to find what I like about a season rather than what I don't like about a season. Obviously, some seasons like Drag Race Down Under, there's just no avoiding the missteps that the season takes. But for me, did I love every single thing about season 13? No, but I enjoyed so much of it that I would still say it was a solid season of Drag Race. I mean, the queens were amazing. I feel like I fell in love with almost every single person on that cast. The runways, the lip syncs, the challenges, I really can't complain about much in season 13. But there are 5 things that I pinpointed with the help of the fandom and some of their critiques throughout the season and afterwards, that I think that the producers could improve on in season 14 to make it just an all-around better season. But first, if you are not already, make sure you are following my Instagram and my Twitter, as well as my Patreon. We hit 100 patrons, so thank you guys so much. I cannot wait to bring you some more content for the rest of the year, as well as I have some big plans for 2022. Now, for my Survivor fans out there, it does sometimes feel like Drag Race is heading towards Twistageddon, where Cirie, the number one fan favorite contestant of all time, gets eliminated because she's the only person left without a advantage. It kind of feels like every episode of Drag Race we're heading towards is going to have some sort of twist or some kind of, we're going to have 2 lip syncs or we're going to have double shantays or double eliminations. Like, it feels like they really are trying to one-up themselves every season, and we see it in Big Brother, we see it in Survivor, so I'm not shocked to see it here, because they don't want to lose their audience, right? And there is the fear in, like, network producers that the monotony might lose its audience. But I actually think most of the audience would love just a regular back-to-basic season of Drag Race without crazy twists in the premiere. And, I mean, they've already teased there's a big twist coming in season 14 with the dreaded chocolate bar. If you know the spoilers, you already know what it is. I'm not going to spoil it here, but it seems like, all right, every season now we have to have something different that will throw the queens through all these hoops and give them all of these things they're not expecting. And yes, it sometimes makes good television, but the first thing that I think they should do differently is stick to your guns with these twists. I think that the first episode of season 13 was pretty unanimously panned. We saw the queens come into the workroom in twos, then go to the main stage and lip sync for their lives, and the losing queen was then sent to the pork chop lounge, where they were told, I guess, they're going home, or they assumed they're going home, only to find out they have to vote one of themselves out based on first impressions. But then it didn't even matter because the queen that they voted out came back in, and it was kind of a big mess. I genuinely think if Elliot with 2 T's had gone home and not returned, the twist would have been better received by the public because it would have felt like there was some weight behind it. Because we were just sitting here for an entire hour and a half watching lip syncs and watching queens go home and then come back and everyone comes back and there's really no point. There's no lasting effect of that episode. It kind of feels pointless, and I think it led to what a lot of fans said was a very, very slow start to season 13. Now, if Elliot had gone home, it would have been like, oh my gosh, like, that's crazy. One lip sync and she's gone. You know, a queen would have already went home, which was another big critique of season 13, is that it took 4 episodes for anybody to go home, and it felt like, oh my gosh, how long is this going to last? I didn't mind that as much because I love a longer season. I love getting to know all the queens, especially the early outs. So I was okay with it, but I can understand why people felt like it was dragging on. And I think if Elliot had just gone home, it wouldn't have felt like that. It would have been like, oh my gosh, this is this huge twist, and someone went home, and well, now we have a little breather with, you know, the phenomenon and the congratulations episodes, and then we go back to regular elimination. It would have picked up the pace a little more. It would have felt like there was some real weight behind the twist. So I think the first thing that they need to do is stick to your guns. If you're going to threaten to send someone home, someone better go home, or else there is no narrative payoff to the tension that you're building throughout the entire episode. It's like going on a roller coaster and you're reaching the top, you're reaching the top, you're reaching the top, you're reaching the top, and then you are just stuck there for whatever, 3 hours while the people are trying to fix the roller coaster, and you're like, I just want to go down this hill and I just want that payoff, but it never comes. So I think if they're going to have some crazy twists on season 14, which I am sure that they will, stick to your guns. We want to see them actually play out. We want to see the actual consequences of the twists. And the second thing is better pacing. I already kind of discussed how the pacing on season 13 was a little off. 4 episodes before anyone went home. Then there was a double save. I mean, we were already at episode like 8, and there were still like 10 queens there, and you're like, how are we gonna get to the end? Like, this is going on forever. Also, there is the top 4 episode where they do like the remix, no one goes home, they all move on to the top 4, and it's like, okay, that is 5 episodes of the season where nobody goes home. And I am okay with that as long as the narrative is being pushed and the episodes feel like there is still some sort of weight to them. And a lot of them, it didn't feel that way. So I definitely think they need some better pacing on season 14. If you're going to have episodes where nobody's going to go home, maybe space them out a little bit, make them feel like there's still some weight. I don't know, there's so many things you could do to still make it feel like there are stakes in episodes where nobody goes home, and I think that they can do better on that in season 14. Like, drop that remix episode altogether. Just do it like they did in season 11, where you had the top 5 do the remix to the RuPaul song, and then someone goes home, and then you have the top 4. And there's not that just boring, wasted episode at the end where no one goes home, they all make it to the end, you know they're all making it to the end, and there's always that boring-ass lip sync where all 4 of them lip sync for their lives, and there's no room for them to do anything, and it's just pointless, and it's wasted screen time. So let's focus on things that are more interesting and have some higher stakes. Now, the third thing I think the new season could do differently is some new challenges. Obviously, there are going to be the iconic Drag Race challenges we see every season that we want to see every season. The Snatch Game, the Makeover, the Ball. I mean, the standards that everybody loves and we wait for them every year. But it sometimes feels lately like I could guess every episode challenge at the beginning of the season and I would get them all right. We know there's going to be an acting challenge. We know there's going to be an improv challenge. We know there's going to be a commercial challenge. We know there's going to be the remix challenge. We know there's going to be the girl groups. I mean, the Rusical. It's like the whole season is already planned out before we even start. So while you can kind of put different outfits on these challenges to make them feel a little bit different, I mean, every year there's a different theme to the Rusical. Every year there's a different concept for the commercials they have to make, but it still somewhat feels stale. I think introducing some more unique challenges on the season would kind of freshen things up a bit And it especially would make the queens kind of be on their toes a little more. You could tell queens like Gigi Good was able to prepare for basically every single challenge on the season because she knew exactly what was coming. I want to see the queens thinking on their feet. Okay, this is this challenge we've never seen before. How am I going to apply myself to do it? How am I going to succeed? I mean, there's so many different narratives that could come from a challenge we have never seen before, and I think it would have a lot of payoff in the audience reception, who I think maybe start to feel it being a little stale as well. I mean, especially when there are like iconic musicals, right? The Madonna musical, Shade the musical. These are like the big ones that everyone remembers. You kind of expect every musical now to be to that same level. And when they're not, like on season 13, the social media musical, which was one of the worst ones, it's just really disappointing because you know how good the musical can be. And you're like, why am I watching this boring one that is not nearly as good as some of the ones in the past? Why can't I just be watching something different? So I think some new challenges would really spice things up and kind of add some new flavors into season 14. Now, this one is honestly my biggest gripe and what I specifically want from season 14, and that is carrying out the storylines. On season 13, my biggest complaint was the amount of narratives that were set up early on, specifically in episode 1, that were then never touched on again, or like barely touched on again. And the big two were both involving Rosé. In the first episode, we see Olivia and Rosé know each other because Olivia competed in a drag night that Rosé was hosting, and then we see Olivia actually beats Rosé in the lip sync, and Rosé is pretty pissed about it. So I was really excited to see where that relationship was going to go. Obviously, seeing what new friendships form on seasons of Drag Race is really fun to watch. You know, Bianca and Adore, Rose and Nolly. But there's always something special about a relationship that was forged before the show even started. You could be great friends, but you throw yourselves into this competitive environment, and sometimes tempers flare, sometimes jealousy, sometimes, things in the past. It's all very interesting. And I was very, very interested in how this Olivia and Rosé dynamic was going to play out, as well as the Tina Burner and Rosé one, which it seemed like they did not like each other from what they were saying in the early episodes, as well as some moments in Untucked. But it also kind of felt like maybe they didn't want to play it up for the cameras because they didn't want the villain edit, or they didn't want the fans to hate them and start a fan war, which is completely valid. But if the storyline went nowhere, why show us it from the very start? It's what I say all the time, narrative blue balls, which nobody wants to deal with. I think setting Rosé up as this, villain where Olivia has some bad feelings towards her and Tina has some bad feelings towards her, but she beats them both out. She makes it all the way to the end. I think that would have been so fun to watch. And I think if anyone was going to be not hated by the fans for that, it would have been Rosé. So I think it would have been really fun. And if there's footage there, I wish that the producers would have put it in. If there's no footage, then why even dwell on it in the first place? I think if you were going to set up a story arc, we need to see it through. I don't care about this little thing that starts and it goes absolutely nowhere, because there's probably 1,000 other story arcs that they could put in that would have better narrative payoff. So that is one thing I specifically want in season 14. Now we have our last change that I think they could make, and it is give us a real reunion. Now, season 12 and season 13 were both definitely impacted by the pandemic, the way that the finales and the reunions were filmed, but I think we've come to the point where you could do it very safely, and I think that the fans want it, and I want it as well, because if we're thinking about iconic reunions, season 9, season 10, season 11, I mean, they all had great moments, and they were all the last couple of seasons before they stopped that format. So I think especially with some of the queens on season 14 that seem like they have so much feist and personality, we could get a really, really entertaining reunion, one like season 9 or season 10. So I would hate to have them just do their little music videos and call it a day, which love that they all got featured, love that they all got a moment to be creative and make something to put on television. And I think you still could include that. You know, there's lots of empty time in the finale where nothing's really going on. There's going to be some empty time in the reunion where you could put some of those music videos. But I want to see the queens all together in a room interacting. And, like, I wanted it so bad for All Star 6. All Star 6's reunion would have been iconic. And it's kind of like, why would you not do one? You know what I mean? It's another episode that everyone is going to tune in for and everyone's going to talk about on social media. So why not just do it? I mean, maybe they're worried about how some of the queens were treated after the reunions before, which, yes, it sucks. But I think that it is just such an iconic moment in the Drag Race franchise. So many big moments come from the reunion. And I think that the last couple of seasons have lacked with getting everyone back together in the room, hashing everything out, and kind of wrapping up the season. So I want the reunion back. So those are 5 things that I could pinpoint that could improve season 14 from season 13. But I want to hear your thoughts. What would you change from season 13 or even from seasons like 11, 12? Recent seasons of Drag Race that you think would improve the franchise as a whole. I am so excited for season 14. You guys have no clue. I want to hear in the comments also who you are most excited for after seeing all of the promos. I am obsessed with Maddie Morphosis' drag. Obsessed. Cannot wait to see what she brings on the season. Same with Cornbread. I've known Cornbread for a while, been following her for a while. So seeing her on the show just like warms my soul. Also, Diabetti, I know is going to bring some really fun looks. And the fact that I get to see him out of drag every week, I am pleased. I would like to see it. And I mean, Carrie Colby, like, she shut everything down. She is such a star, and I'm so excited. Honestly, everyone on this cast, I think, brings something new to the table, and I am so excited for season 14 and to bring you guys all kinds of content about it. Hopefully not about how rigged it is, but we will have to see about that. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all so much. It has been a long, long day solving the mystery of what was the worst part of season 13. And the answer is, still to this day, when this look walked the runway. I still have not recovered. I probably never will recover. Okay, guys, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.